storage. This thing ought to have some source material. Yeah, well, I guess they took an early vacation. Yeah.
Wandering through a maze, analyzing causes, developing remedial actions, reporting your findings to management, all have their place in conducting effective accident investigations.
When the evidence from the accident is collected to identify information to prevent reoccurrence, you are ready for these next steps. I'm Don Harrison. Today, we look at techniques you can use to improve your organization and stop unnecessary loss through effective accident investigation.
You are ready to proceed to the next step, analyzing information to determine the causes of the loss, taking remedial actions, and developing a report for review. First, you must analyze all significant factors obtained from the evidence to find the true underlying causes of the loss. This will allow you to get to the basic or root causes where you can be most effective. To illustrate this point, suppose you want to remove an undesired weed in your garden. If you were to remove only the visible stem, not only will the weed return, but the unseen roots can create additional unwanted weeds. Similarly, suppose an accident were to occur and you wanted to remove the causes of the loss. If you were to remove only the visible substandard actions or substandard conditions on the surface, not only will another accident occur, but the unseen basic causes can create additional unwanted accidents. You must remove the basic causes to keep the accidents from recurring. How can you ensure the basic causes are identified and eliminated? We will use a simple, systematic process for problem solving referred to as the loss causation model, which will help us to find both visible and hidden causes of the accident. Here is an overview of the system. There are 5 parts to the loss causation model. The entire process starts when lack of control in the management system creates basic causes, also known as root causes. Basic causes can trigger visible substandard actions and substandard conditions known as immediate causes. These visible immediate causes can lead to an incident, which is the contact with a source of energy. Finally, if the contact is strong enough, a loss can occur. In this model, the loss process falls from the left to the right. However, to use this model as a problem-solving tool and to find the causes of the loss, we will work right to left. This allows us to place key pieces of evidence into the model and recreate the loss as it developed. We will now show this technique with the losses demonstrated in the scenarios. We will identify only a few of the possible causes at each stage. Don't worry if some of your answers differ. The important part of this exercise is to be able to organize your evidence into a format that is easy to understand. At this time, stop the video and obtain a blank sheet of notebook paper and a pen or pencil. Restart the video when this is done. To start this process, turn your paper horizontally and divide your paper into 5 sections by drawing lines. Starting at the right, label the top of each section as follows. In the first section, write the word loss, then incident, immediate causes, basic causes, then lack of control in the last section. Pause the video to complete this step, then restart the video. Now use the loss scenario presented in this video. Underneath the word loss, write down each loss that was a result of that accident. Make a list of the injuries, illnesses, damages, spills, and other losses. You'll need to list these for your investigation report. Stop the video to list the losses, then restart the video. Possible losses for this accident include injured leg to Lisa, the QC supervisor, damaged equipment, loss of use of the warehouse for 1 day, damaged inventory, and other hidden costs. Underneath the incident section, list the contacts with forms of energy or substances that were responsible for that loss. This could include the following categories: struck against, struck by, fall to a lower level, fall on same level, caught in, on, or between, contact with forms of energy such as temperature, electricity, chemicals, or noise, and overstress, overexertion, or overload. Stop the video to discuss the contacts, then restart the video. A possible contact for this loss was Lisa was struck by a load from a moving forklift. Underneath the immediate causes component, identify the substandard acts and substandard conditions that preceded Lisa being struck by the load. Remember, these can usually be seen or sensed and are measurable. Some examples of acts and conditions that can lead to loss are listed here. Remember, these are only examples. You could develop your own to meet your situation. Just ensure that each item you list is visible and measurable, and that it has no element of fault finding. Do not use examples such as carelessness or not using common sense. List the actions and conditions that led to the contact. Stop to discuss, then restart the video. To continue the same example as to why the employee was struck by the load include failure to warn. Patrick, the third shift driver, and J.D., the mechanic, failed to warn about the deficiency in the forklift. Operating at improper speed. The forklift driver was told to be quick but safe. Defective equipment. The forklift had no brakes. Using defective equipment. The forklift was still used. Although these immediate causes give us a good starting point, we must dig deeper to find more serious problems. The investigator continually strives to determine what is causing the substandard acts and conditions to occur. These answers help to identify the basic causes of the loss. They search for the critical question: why? Why was the substandard act committed? Why did the hazardous condition exist? The answers tend to cluster into two groups of underlying causes: personal factors and job factors. Personal factors that cause substandard acts and conditions to occur include inadequate physical capability, inadequate mental capability, physical stress, mental stress, lack of knowledge, lack of skill, and improper motivation. Job factors that lead to substandard acts and conditions include inadequate leadership, inadequate engineering, inadequate purchasing, inadequate maintenance, inadequate tools and equipment, inadequate work standards, wear and tear, and abuse or misuse. Underneath the Basic Causes section, list all the root or basic causes for each immediate cause. Stop to discuss, then restart the video. Let's go back and take one substandard act, failure to warn, as an example. Some of the reasons for failure to warn could have been mental stress. J.D., the maintenance mechanic, had more work than he could handle and was working double shifts. Lack of skill. Patrick, the third shift forklift driver, probably had lockout, tagout training, but had little practice in doing it when necessary. Improper motivation. The priority for things to be done were confusing to J.D., the maintenance mechanic. J.D. was also rewarded for working double shifts. Inadequate leadership. Unclear relationships for reporting and conflict in work planning for J.D. Inadequate work standards. Whether J.D. immediately worked on the forklift or not, the standard should have required that it be tagged out. Let's take each of the other immediate causes through this process. The reasons for the forklift operating at improper speed could have been mental stress. Bob, the new employee, was trying to please the boss. Lack of knowledge. Bob was not adequately trained. Lack of skill. Bob had not operated this type forklift before. Improper motivation. Dave, the supervisor, made it clear that safety was a secondary priority. Plus, Jim, the department manager, improperly motivated Dave to get the computer equipment out, no matter what. Inadequate work standards. Bob probably didn't understand his supervisor's definition of do it quickly but be safe. The reasons for the forklift being defective could have been physical stress. Fatigue could have played a role in J.D., the mechanic's inability to cope with all of the demands of keeping equipment up. Lack of knowledge. J.D. may not have understood the true consequences of the brake seal problem. Improper motivation. The double time pay was highly motivating to J.D. Inadequate leadership. Poor scheduling for J.D. and an inability to manage time wisely. Inadequate purchasing. Inadequate research and specifications on the brake seals by the purchasing department, and inadequate communication of safety and health issues, all for the brake seals. The reasons for Bob using defective equipment could have been lack of knowledge, no knowledge of the condition of the forklift brakes. Improper motivation. The main priority to Bob was to finish the job as told. Inadequate leadership. The supervisor gave Bob inadequate guidelines and did a poor evaluation of loss exposures. Even though the initial reaction was that the oil on the floor or the inexperienced driver caused the loss, we've seen how this loss branched into 4 visible immediate causes, which branched into about 20 basic causes. A deeper investigation could identify even more causes. Remember, your search is for the critical items that must be addressed to prevent recurrence. The last section of the loss causation model reminds us to take the analysis process one step further. The next level manager should examine the company's overall loss control program, its program standards, and its level of compliance with those standards to determine the underlying reasons why the basic causes exist. This helps to bridge the gap between basic causes and an exploration of the program activities which might have prevented them. For each basic cause, the management team would identify the program elements that failed to prevent the immediate and basic causes of the loss. This same team would list the possible missing or deficient program elements, inadequate program standards, or instances of lack of compliance to the program. Stop to discuss, then restart the video. Identifying the causes of loss is only useful if adequate remedial actions follow. This leads us to our next step of the accident investigation, developing remedial actions. There are many ways to take care of each cause. Some ways lower the likelihood of the accident occurring. Others reduce the potential severity of the injury or damage. Each possible action also has a different degree of effect, a different reliability, a different cost, and different side effects. As you respond to and investigate accidents, you should keep in mind the question, what can I do right now to keep this from happening again? Most temporary actions correct only the visible causes, the substandard actions and substandard conditions. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a good place to start, and it needs to be done. For example, the forklift needs to be tagged out. The employee needs re-instruction. The improper seals need to be replaced. The oil on the floor needs to be cleaned up. But remember, these are not the final actions. They don't correct the basic causes or problems. Permanent remedial actions address personal and job factors, and as such, lead to long-term solutions. These include redesigning a process, revising training programs, improving purchasing practices, upgrading engineering controls to ensure proper guarding and barricading takes place. Identify the need for personal protective equipment. Of course, time and materials are usually needed for permanent solutions. Therefore, the action plan will require the involvement of upper managers. Watch the discussion between Dave and Jim, the department head, and determine the temporary and permanent actions that they develop.
Well, where are we on this accident investigation, Dave?
Well, the area's been cleaned up, and Bob, the new guy, has been trained in pre-use procedures.
Is that it?
Well, no, there are other recommendations that are in the process of being implemented right now.
Well, you took that forklift out of service, right?
Yeah, we had it towed to maintenance. JD inspected it and said the brakes failed because the seals weren't seating properly, so all the fluid leaked out. Seems that purchasing bought the wrong seals. Well, anyway, the seals are being replaced in that one right now, and JD will get to the rest of them as soon as he picks up the new seals this afternoon. And he's also going to get some absorbent material while he's out, so we'll be able to clean up any spills that happen from now on.
Well, have you been able to talk to the purchasing department about this?
No, they weren't available to talk.
I know everybody's busy, but look, I want you to organize a meeting to ensure that our purchasing system doesn't fail us again. There's no excuse for cutting corners when it comes to safety. And make sure both you and I are there to kick it off.
Consider it done. Oh, also, we made some changes in our pre-use and lockout-tagout procedures, so there'll be no more misunderstandings about equipment.
Well, when are you going to share these changes with the workers?
Well, Bob, the new guy's been trained already, and I guess we'll get everybody else next quarter in the annual training refresher when the program's revised.
No, don't wait until then. Start discussions of the changes in group meetings until everybody thoroughly understands them.
Well, I guess I could start auditing the pre-use inspection reports to be sure the procedures are being followed.
Good thinking, good thinking. By the way, who conducts the general inspections of the warehouse area?
Well, the safety department used to. These days, I guess I just kind of keep an eye on things and take action when it's needed.
Well, I hope everyone doesn't depend on the safety department to do their inspections. Everyone ought to do his own.
Yeah. Well, I could work up a form and start turning it into you every week.
No, I want all departments to do this. I'll handle that. You got enough to do with that new employee. By the way, why was the new employee even driving that forklift when he hadn't even been trained? Are you sure you've got all your bases covered?
Which remedial actions are temporary and which ones are permanent? Stop to discuss, then restart the video. Both Dave and Jim covered a number of temporary and permanent actions. You should have noted that Dave's investigation was incomplete and did not identify all causes of the loss. After the causal analysis and development of remedial actions, the investigation report puts the investigation all together in a brief summary. This allows for the findings to be reviewed at the next higher level of management. Your report should be brief, factual, and clear. A standard form is helpful. At this time, stop the video and obtain a copy of your company's accident investigation report. Restart the video when this is done. Compare the information requested in your report with the following. As a minimum, the report should include the following information: the date and time of the accident, the people, equipment, materials involved, location of the accident, type of injury or damage, cost of losses, a brief description including what happened, how the injury or damage occurred, emergency actions, and the circumstances and key facts. A summary of the loss causation model, including the immediate causes, basic causes, and lack of control. Remedial actions, which include temporary and permanent actions. And a record of management review. This information is the minimum needed for a good investigation. Does your report ask for this information? Discuss what can be done to improve your company's investigation report. To review, in this video we used the loss causation model to analyze all significant causes from the evidence, to identify the immediate causes, basic causes, and lack of control that led to the loss. Remedial actions include taking temporary and permanent actions to prevent recurrence of the loss. The accident report puts the investigation all together in a brief summary, which allows for the findings to be reviewed at the next higher level of management. Analyzing causes. Developing remedial actions. Reporting your findings to management.
All have their place in producing positive results. By following these steps in the accident investigation process, you are on your way to reducing losses to people, property, process, and the environment.